Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. It's Kim here, and today is another different kind of view, isn't it? Welcome to my desktop tour. I'm just going to talk for a few minutes, but I will kind of slowly go around the room, around the desk a little bit. This is part of the 2025 Declutter, Reorganize collaboration that is put on by Cara Brandon and Dana White. Dana White is a declutter expert, although heaven help her if she should ever come to my room, because I think she'd faint. Yes, it's brought on by the two. They're the hosts of it, and it is always good to get reorganized and ready to go for the new year. And yeah, I did clean up a little bit, but I'm not one of those people who can work in a clean environment. I've tried. So this is my method. It's my madness. It's the best I can do as far as clean, and it is really clean right now, actually, surprisingly. But this is just my desktop that I'm showing you today. There are a couple of things that I'm proud of for organizing that have worked for me for the last few months, but I have been doing this for years and years and years. So I know that I can't work in that super pristine, clean environment. I know that I work best in chaos and mess, and I love digging through my stuff. I love looking for things. I love coming downstairs here and walking through my studio and touching things and rediscovering every day. So yeah, this is my desktop. And I should also talk about the fact that there are other collaborators in this group throughout the month who are showing their studios and their desktops and how they've done the 1 hour cleaning. I did do a couple of 1 hour cleanings, Dana. I did. I set the timer and put things away. It actually works. But yeah, this is how I like to work. So as clean as it could be, I can't function. I can't think because I'm very much inspired by visual and touching things and sifting through things. That's my inspiration. So yeah, I'm not one of those. So maybe I'm one of the people that they're having in this collaboration to say, this is what you don't want to happen. That could be it as well. But it works for me, so I'm going to get started and show you how this works for me. So over here, I have this shelf, and it holds a few of my punches that I use on a regular basis. I also have, I'm holding my camera by hand here, so I don't know where my finger is. Where is it? There it is. Okay, so up here that's a metal magnetic bar. Here I can actually reach it. Why am I trying to point it through the camera? So this is a magnetic bar, and right now there's tape on it because I had glued it on here. Before it was just resting on there because it does rest quite nicely, but it on occasion would fall. So I finally glued it down in place, and now it's sitting there. That was one of the things I did for my cleanup. And then up on the top, up here, I have more different types of glue that I do tend to reach for once in a while. Not stuff that I use all the time, so it is way up there, but it is stuff I do once in a while reach for. This is a spray bottle of water. There are 2 ink colors that I use all the time that I keep up there. And then this shelf that you see back here is, it used to be a mail sorting shelf at one time, and I bought it from a friend of mine, and I've added those drawers. It did come with some ugly wooden ones. I think there's still one left in that right there in that corner that were unfinished, and I do use those drawers in other areas of my studio. Now there are 29 drawers in here. I haven't made boxes for all of them, only because some stuff I just put loose in there, like these jars up here with bulb pins and stuff, and I've got ink pads that I use quite regularly, but they're all filled with different things that I use on a regular basis. Like I have eyelets down there, and I have 2 different kinds of drawers of brads, ink pads, as I was saying. There's my house hippo, although he's my studio hippo, and I actually found a little hat for him, so he's wearing a hat, but he's always hungry, and I think he eats my paper at night. So yeah, it's filled with things like sequins and like little containers of stuff, bulldog clips, envelopes that I use quite regularly, some gems, and just different things. And then up on top, I have these little drawers. I'm not really fond of them, but they do hold a lot of die cuts, like die cut envelopes. You can sort of see butterflies there. I can maybe open some drawers to show you. Circles, fabric pieces, just little bits and pieces that, again, I use on a regular basis in my work. So sometimes I just want to get up and grab one. And then up on top here, I have some smaller cluster type things in those containers. I have my washi tape, which I will show you shortly, and just more, I think that's embossing powder in there. I do have to say that I really need to get back into doing some embossing, because I've got so much supplies for embossing, and I have not been using it for a long, long time. So that's, so I've kind of built it like a wall. Sometimes my husband comes in the room because the door is way over there. And it's got things on it. But sometimes he comes in and he doesn't even know where I am. But, well, he can find me. So it's like a little fort here where I work. And so, yeah, this is my desktop. This is how you see my desk when I'm doing a video. And yeah, I'll admit, this is a big basket of stuff. And I was going to take it off the table for the video, but I thought, no, you know what? I have to show you the real thing. This is how I work. So to clean it up would just be, I would be lying to you. So this is a basket of stuff, and I constantly work it down, but I constantly fill it up. But I'm getting better. At least it's contained right now. There's a journal that I'm working on, but it's contained. So on my desktop over here, I have my crystal garbage container. I don't put a lot of stuff in there. It's not really huge, because whenever it's overloaded, I do go through it, and some goes into recycling if it's paper. I do sort it before I actually toss it. And the reason I do that as well is I'm notorious for dropping things into it. So I do have a peek before I actually throw anything out. And I never really put things like packaging in here. There's a tissue in here only because I cleaned my magnetic glass just before I turn the camera on. But I never really throw a lot of stuff in there. If it's anything major that's bigger than the container, it goes right into the rightful spot. And this used to host all of my tools, but since the cleanup, I've kind of emptied it into other areas. And so I just left it on my desk. These were some of the things that were in it, and this basket got emptied too. Thank you, Dana. So between emptying this and this, I've actually got a little bit of extra space now, and I also have a little bit of room back here that I didn't usually have. That's usually where I kept my pencils and stuff, and things that were in a jar. So I don't know whether or not I'll use this yet, but I don't like to let it go, because I really like the juxtaposition of crystal with junk. The look, that kind of look. And it's fun to have those things. Oh, my fingers are in the way here. It's fun to have those kinds of opposites in your studio. So yeah, that's the rest of my shelf down here at the bottom. I just have my baby wipes and a container that really doesn't have much in it. Underneath here, I have a little metal tray that I pull out, and this is my little beading trays. I constantly add beads or sequins or pearls or whatever into these containers, and I work out of those when I'm doing my slow stitching. And then If there's something that I don't have, like a particular color, then I will go to my bead section, which I think you've seen in other videos, and I will grab something and add it to this pile. So there are a few little bags of small beads here that don't really fit in here, and I don't want to dump them into there until I actually need them. So, because then the containers get too overloaded. And then when I'm using these containers, the lid, of course, serves as a means to pour a few beads on so I can easily work through them. Years ago, I remember going to some type of a little mini seminar that was at a scrapbooking convention, and the woman talked about organization there. And she said, instead of having 20 containers that have 50 little eyelets in them, then you have 20 containers that you're going through. She said, narrow it down to 5 and just put colors that either go well together or are totally opposite so that you can see them, and you eliminate 15 containers. And I thought, well, that's brilliant. So that is why I work like this. So there might be 3 or 4 colors in here, but eventually I will sift through and all the blue beads will be gone, and it'll be mostly all purple or all green. And same with these other 2. This is kind of larger beads in here, but eventually, when you're pulling things out of here, you're forcing yourself to use it because you're not giving yourself a huge selection. But there's still a pretty good selection in here when I want to do something. And if I really absolutely need something different, I can bring it to the table and add a few of those beads into here. So it's not taking up a lot of space, but there's a good assortment and it's easy to sift through. And it's also fun, again, to remind yourself of the other things that you have. You may not be using them today, but you're reminded of the different colors that you have. Straight pins I use a lot of all the time, and these are just my current threads that I'm working with in this tray. But the fun part about it is that it slides under here and it's out of my way. Let's put my garbage can back. This is another tray, and it's underneath this shelf. I'm just going to back up a little bit here. And so it's underneath this shelf, and in it, I just keep my basic stuff. A little glue. This has got tacky glue in it, and so I just keep it in this jar upside down. This way I know that it's always ready to go. There's some little glue or ink dauber things. My current brown ink, which is never the color that's in the container, because when it's empty, I just fill it with whatever ink I have on hand. I have this one here. I have espresso back here. So it's whatever I'm doing. I'm not one to keep my ink separate. I don't favor, it's whatever the flavor is of the month. You've heard me say that many, many times. I have one inker here that I use, and then this one I made, of course everything's going to stick to it. This one is made with this works really good, by the way. This is one of those felt cushions that you put underneath chairs, and they come with a really good adhesive on them, so they are super to use for this, and you get like hundreds in a little package at the dollar store. It's a glass bottle, and it's filled with needles so that if I need a needle, I have them handy. But this makes a really good dauber and inker that I use as well. So they all sit in this little box, which they used to sit up there, but then I was constantly reaching for them. So when I found this little tray in my stash, I went, oh, that's what I'm going to use. So that sits in another one of these metal trays. Now, I don't even know where I got these from, but it conveniently fit under this shelf. So now when I pull it out, I've got extra inks back here, and these are colors that I use that used to be on my rolling cart, so I moved them over to here, and they're hidden away so you can't even see them. But I know they're there, and this way when I do need another color, they are handy. This thing that fell out is one of those handmade sponge daubers. These are those little sponges. I think you put them between your toes when you're painting your toenails. I think that's what they're for. You get a whole package of like 30 of them or something for a dollar at the dollar store. And I just folded a piece of cardstock over the edge of the thing so I can hold on to it without getting ink on me. And these make great instant daubers. I've got all of the brush tools and blending tools as well, but this is handy in some cases because sometimes that's all you need. And so they all sit in here. The only other thing I have back here is this little corner rounder punch. So I'm doing this through the camera. And so that's just handy little tools that were all sitting in this glass jar, the tools at one time. So this just makes it a little bit neater. I don't know for sure if this will work long term. We will see. I'm not making any promises. So behind this shelf is the bottom. Here's another one of those wooden drawers that it came with. They're pretty crude and simple. But it is a kind of a shelf or an empty space. My husband put these feet on this stand for me, which is really funky. But it's kind of like an empty shelf space that I can use. And so I do have a whole tray full of inks that, if I do need something in particular, and I do have my Ranger inks and Tim Holtz pads and stuff back there, but I don't use them that often. This is really all I need. I really should purge a lot of that stuff. Maybe it'll happen in the next couple of years. So yeah, there is space, and this is so easy to just slide out and grab what I want, but it's stuff I don't need right away, so I don't need to look at it. I don't need to have it super handy behind me there, or behind all this stuff there. So then, you saw this big pile. I'm just going to move it over out of the way. So this is a tray that also shouldn't be here. This was supposed to be to hold ephemera when I was finished making something, and then it would eventually, when it was full, either go to my sewing table if anything had to be sewn, or it would go to its rightful ephemera holders, which is on the other side of this little wall. And I'll save that for another day because that's a huge thing as well. But it's kind of become a little dumping grounds. And when I say dumping grounds, it is stuff that I use. Like this is a steno notebook that has lined paper that I often use for backing my journal cards. This is last year's table calendar. It's one of those, it's a dog calendar. And I use these papers as either notebook paper or scrapbook paper, or I use it for backs of journal cards and stuff. And yeah, just leftover bits in here that goes in front here. Sorry, I'm just going to hold the camera up while I do this. There's a couple of envelopes in here. There's, it's just bits and pieces that shouldn't be in here. This box here is what was in the plastic container as well. But it got to the point where I was constantly running to my stamp section to get certain stamps to use, because these are kind of my favorites. And so I was running always to get them. And I thought, no, I need a better system, because not that I don't want the exercise. And that's the great way to do it, is to put stuff far enough away that you actually get up and do something. But it just worked for me to have those things handy. And so they have just some basic stamps that I use all the time, nothing too exciting. But I do have a lot of stamps. I have a whole half a cupboard of acrylic stamps like those. And then I'll just lift you up here. You can probably see over against the wall there. That's some of my wooden stamps over there. I can't see my finger. There it is. Those there. Those are my wooden stamps that I have on display. So this is just the immediate stuff that I use, and it's handy. And these wooden stamps will change out from time to time. If I get tired of using something, I will switch it out and put something else in there. So it's just kind of a little stash to have on my table. Idea book. This is the latest one. I do have more. I'm taking you further down the line here, but we're not going there today. I have more idea books and journals here that are my own personal stash. So those are full of ideas as well, and I do run to them. But this is the current one. It's not quite full yet, and as soon as it's full, it will go over there, and then I will start a new one. Back here is, I don't even know what it is anymore. I have to go through it. Lots of empty envelopes that I have to finish making, a couple that are made. These are a couple of small envelope journals that I made, stuff that's kind of, just to remind me that I got to get it done. And then if you remember, I was working on this altered book. It's almost done. The pages are getting more and more filled, but this is more of a hobby, and I do this, on the side when I have time, and I will do a final flip through when I am finished. I did work on it, I think, a couple of videos for you to look at. Still a bit to go in here, but it's one of those things that I only work on it when I have spare time, because it's I think it's going to be more for me, and it's just a method of cleaning up things on my desk. So I will get back to that and I will show you the results, but for now it's kind of living there. And then I have over here, I have these plastic tubs down here. These are current gatherings. Okay. These are journals and projects that I'm going to be working on. So I gather the materials for them. They are one, two, three deep. Yeah, they're 3 deep. And there's 2 sets of them. You can't see them. They are behind there. This is a 6-foot table, by the way. So those are things that, believe it or not, I have one of these is filled with stuff for a peacock journal. I've never done, in all my years of journal making, I have never made a peacock journal. So it's not that I don't have the stuff, I do, but I've been gathering specifically. So now when I have something for a peacock journal, it does go in the rightful container. And then when I have the inspiration to work on one of these containers, or if it is so overflowing that I can no longer fit anything into these containers, that's when I pull this out, and that will be one of the next journals that I work on. So there are some that are, always ongoing, where I gather certain stuff all the time for certain colors. Like I have a lot of journals that I do in like the reds and yellows and oranges. So I always put specific things in those containers for it. I'd have to save that for another day to show you. But it's just a way of keeping it all together, and then one day I just open it up and I say, okay, this is the one I'm working on. And these rotate quite often. So once I've done a couple of journals out of one container, if I don't feel the need to keep using it for the same kind of colors, then I will change it up. And in fact, there is a 7th one, and it is under my desk because it just made this lopsided, and I really wanted it to be even right across. So there's 3 and 3, so a total of 6, but there is a 7th one underneath. It's sort of like 7 days. If only I could get a journal done every day. These are the trays that I've been talking about, but I'll come back to them. And then over here I have 2 filing. Oh, I didn't even take the tag off of this one yet. I have 2 filing boxes here. This holds larger papers like maps and large music sheets and calendars. In fact, my calendars that I work on all the time now with the little squares sit in here. And then once I have a page that's full, I pull it and put it where I want to use it for something. But this is just larger papers that I draw from on a regular basis. So this is always changing. Papers that come and go. There's some cardboard in here, and larger scrapbook papers that are not complete, where I've maybe cut something out, but they're still kind of 12 inches, where you cut like a little square out of it. So it's still kind of 12 by 12, but not really. So that's the kind of stuff that goes in here, because it's not a complete page. It's stuff to work on and use up. There is a little loaf pan down here. And it also has extra papers like note paper that I use for the backs of things. It's got envelopes that need to be covered. Bunch of junk. Stuff that I had started to work on but didn't finish. A book cover that's waiting to be put into a journal, made into a journal. And again, it goes kind of floats into that larger paper that I use all the time. So sometimes when I'm doing a journal, I just want something a little bit different, I will come and grab from here. And it's an ever-changing collection all the time. So you saw the one loaf pan there. Here is my dumping loaf pan. Yeah. It has, a lonely tassel. It has a roll of wallpaper, some jewelry pieces, a couple of glue caps. If you dig down further, you'll see this. Yeah. I could sit and put all this away, but I don't, because I dig through here when I need something. It's just these odds and ends, bits and pieces. There's an elastic. So it's just kind of a catch-all for me. It's just a loaf pan. And I do go through it, but it's always a mess. It's always on my desk. And sometimes it's overflowing too. And then I get upset with myself when I do put stuff away. But that is on my desk, and it's handy, and I scratch through it quite often when I'm looking for something. And believe me, I get also very annoyed when I'm looking for a push pin for whatever it is I'm using, and there aren't any left in here. Then I have to go get a push pin from somewhere else. So it is always handy to have. These smaller trays here, and I will go more into detail with these trays in a bit. These are what I call current use it up stuff. So when I'm doing arm's length art, I do go to that basket there that I talked about, and I use stuff out of that basket, and then this is what I call current bits. So I will again go through this with you just so you have an idea. But it is sort of the smaller version and unorganized version of these. So the only other two things I want to show you, three. Clean floor. There's my floor, clean. It is really clean. I do sweep it at least once a week. And I have two rolling carts. There's this one here that I use very often. And then I'm going to move you around. And then I have one to my right over here that I use all the time. So I'm going to sit down for this one. Go back to this one. This has, this is a collage, masterboard collage book. I'm just going to bring it to the table for you to just have a quick peek here. I hope I'm not making you motion sick. But it has collages that I have, one-handed. They're masterboards that are made, and there's two in each sleeve, and they are already backed with plain paper. So all I have to do is cut them up to use for, if I want a set of journaling cards or I want some instant tags. These are all made up of, bits and pieces that as I clean things up, I make a couple more, and then they get stuck in here or they get used up. And this one has my name on. I'm just showing you this because whenever Thelma sends me something, she always sends it to me with a very fancy font. Each time it's a little bit different. So I keep collaging these things onto pages. And then I had made her a journal where I all my journaling cards had my name on it just so she wouldn't forget who I was. And so I just leave them. Sometimes they're fully done, sometimes they're partially done, sometimes I want to add things to them yet. They're color coordinated and stuff, and then there's a section of to do as well. Oh, this one was one I just did. So yeah, these are just collage masterboards that are finished. Sometimes I have upstairs I have a magazine that I use to do my masterboard collages in upstairs, because sometimes I'm upstairs and I'm watching videos on the computer or on the TV, and I like to have I'm just putting this back. a little bit of stuff to work on. So yeah, there is a separate collage masterboard upstairs that I work on, but these are just my loose sheets that I take from the pile, finish off a piece of paper to get it out of the pile, and it goes into here till I'm ready to use it. My needle book that hosts all my needles that for different sewing, and there's some pins in there and stuff. This is more of I use this more for traveling. If I were to go like to Manitoba, I would bring this with me so that I could have my own stuff handy, and there's threads and stuff in there. This is just a little mini collage book that I work on once in a while. Sometimes there's things that I just want a little piece of paper to get off my desk, and I will put it into this book. And then eventually it gets cut up, or sometimes I come here and I pull things from it. So that just sits in there nicely normally. There we go. This is a tag collage book. This is just an empty notebook, I think. This is another little collage book. I'll pull this one to show you. Sorry, moving you fast here. So this one has, I think there's 72 pages in here when I'm finished. It has pages done, and the backs are done. This used to be an old date book, I think, or calendar book. Yeah. So they're done, and they're again waiting for me to use them. Sometimes they're just plain like this, where I can collage and add more things on them. But I do come back and forth to these all the time to take a page and take it out of the book and use it. But I think it has 72 pages, so I still have a long ways to go to fill this one. I think I've only taken one page out of here, actually, because when I realized how much was in here, I wanted to see how full I would get it. But I'm not really good at working on it lately. I've been doing too many other things. This is my cluster book, and you've seen me talk about it. Maybe we'll have a day again where we make some clusters, and I show you different ones that I do. And there again, when I want something, I just come here and look at the pages. This I take from quite often. And I look at the pages of stuff that I'm working on and grab something to pull out of here. And it's just bits and pieces. Sometimes I like to take things that are in those trays that I talked about, my immediate trays, and I use them to make clusters and bring everything down to a level that's more manageable. And then all of a sudden I start pulling clusters out of here like crazy. And now this is empty. And I use a combination of, this book came with music sheet, but I throw blank sheets in here all the time, digging from this pile. If I come across something and I want to get it out of this box, I will, put it into here or like cut it to size and put it in and then use it. And then some of them, if I can find one. Some of them I have. Oh, here we go. This is just, I was cleaning out a little envelope of stuff, and so I just glued the things down on here, knowing that I would eventually work on them or cut them out. So this is a full-size sheet of paper that's just folded up to fit in here. Just a small binder. I have a few of these, so picked one up. I think I gave a few of these away to people too. So that's pretty much, on there. This is kind of, I used to have lots of these, but I got away from doing this because then I was just constantly going through books. So I just have the one left now. And it's, one of these folio holder things that holds images and stuff. But the problem with this is I don't come to it. I prefer this method, really. Honestly. So I'm forcing myself to come here and get something out of this book. So the folios don't really work for me, but it's here, and maybe eventually I'll just get rid of it. I don't know. These two books are just digitals that I pull from. Again, they're just printed and they're inspiration. So when I want something different, I will just flip through the pages. Okay, I'll give you one little, if I can, this one I think is easier to pull out. So I'm not going to pull the whole thing out, but it's got just different digitals in here that I've printed. And no, this is not all the digitals I printed. This is just some of them. I have more stashed somewhere else, but this is just what I keep handy and in this container. It is pretty clean because I do go through this stuff and I do use it quite often. So underneath is book pages that don't fit anywhere else. They're open book pieces. And then the bottom is books that I do work out of. When I empty one, then the book goes up here somewhere to get used, whether it goes up in this pile area here or in the tray. It's a constant moving things as they get used. So that's that tray. Or cart, I should say. And this is my tool cart. I'm not fond of having these. These are all those different scissors that you use for decorative edges. I'm not fond of having them in there, but I don't know where to put them unless I put them away. And then if I'm putting them away, I'll never use them. And if I never use them, I should get rid of them. So they will eventually be gone, but it works for now to have them in here. And I think this is probably, no, that's not even it. It's the one with the gray handles. This one. This is what, oh, no, that's not it. This one. This is the one I use the most because it looks like torn edges. So if I'm ever going to use one, it's going to be this one. I think there is a couple of postage ones in here that I have gone to on occasion, but I don't do that much of that stuff. So yeah, I have to rethink why this basket is in here, but it is. Emery boards, use them all the time for distressing. Great for distressing pictures. Like if you have a current, like if you print your own photos and you want to distress them up and scratch them up, this is a great tool to use for that. I also use this for distressing paper and the edges or folded edges of paper and just sanding it back a little bit to make it look more worn. Blending tools. Pokey type tools, crochet hooks because I use those a lot, a water pen, and I use that mostly for cutting napkins. So I just draw around the napkin what I want and then tear the paper afterwards. Tall tools, a hammer. This is just a skewer. I use that if I'm going to do anything with the heat gun, because the heat gun blows. I use that to hold it so I don't get burnt. But for the most part, heat gun stuff is done outside. Chomper punches and my crocodile, like they're all the same family, memory keepers, I think. But they're all the same family, so they're in there. I don't use these ones as often, and I should. But this one I use the most. My big, what do you call it? The big chomper, the big one, the big kahuna is down here on the floor because it just takes up so much room everywhere. So I just have it in the corner here. It minds its own business until I need it. Also on the floor there in another loaf pan is a heat gun. It's my husband's heat gun that I have to give back because he did buy me one for Christmas. A brand new one. It's nice and shiny. Don't even want to use it. So that's down there as well. I keep it in there so that if I do use it here, which I don't very often, but if I do use it here, it has a place to sit where it's safe on the floor from the heat. And it's easy to take it outside because my studio door is not far from outdoors where I can go and quickly heat gun stuff. I don't like the smell of things, so I don't, and I'm always worried how many brain cells I'm killing. So I don't use that stuff indoors very often, but it's just handy to have it here so that I can. I do use it for embossing when I do embossing, and so that's why it sits there. But for the most part, I do any melting and stuff outside. Punches, we use them all the time. I have a brand new one because the other ones are getting to the point where they're not working as good. And then these are those little mini ones and odd shaped ones that I use once in a while, so it just sits with all the other tools. blending tools. In the front here, these are what I call sharp tools. So there's blades and rotary cutters and that kind of stuff. The shelf is metal, so anything magnetic sticks to it, and I love that. These, I can never say enough about it. This is an empty one, if you can believe it. I did clean out what was in here so that I'd have it available. But if I turn this card around on the side here, you can see I have my paper clips. I have safety pins because I use a lot of those with my art stuff. I have an extra light here, and it's magnetic so that if I want to have any extra light, I can use it whenever I need something. And it's magnetic, so it sits on here. And then I have this tool, and I've told you guys about this tool. It's one of those bingo tools. You would not believe how many metal beads I've dropped on the floor, or needles that I have to go and pick up. And when you can't see underneath there, it's amazing how well this thing works to pick that stuff up. Just extra bits and pieces. I think I just showed you these bamboo toothbrushes that I bought. Are great for blending tools, and I do have several of them in use right now up here. And then down there is just another empty container because I was on a rampage and I cleaned out lots of stuff. And then these little baggy things hold stuff like extra blades, and I just keep everything in these clear plastic makeup bags so that I can see what's in here. And this is just more blades and replacement stuff for my different tools. So that's all of that. And so that's how I work. Oh, here's my little mini cutter, because my big cutter's on the other side of the wall, which again, it's annoying as all get out, but it's so big and bulky, I have nowhere to put it. And it's a great way for me to get off my derriere and go and do something. So it's that, 10 steps of exercise. Oh, here's another one of those wooden boxes. So you can see they're not very attractive, right? But I didn't get rid of them. I've kept them and I use them for other sources. This is great for holding my glue gun. My glue gun is always on. The glue mess is inside, and then there's always strings here along the edge. Going up the side here, I have my glue sticks handy. Those are just those different playing cards that are different membership cards and things that I've cut up to use for corners and for scraping and, smoothing things out. And then this is where I keep needles handy. We're going to be making some of these, but a little bit different. I've got a really fun project for this coming up. And then this is just notes that I keep handy whenever I need something. I actually want to have a series of what's on Kim's note paper and make it, because I write so many notes on pieces of paper and diagrams and all kinds of stuff. And I thought, maybe one day I should have a series once a week or so where we see what's on my notes and make that for the day, because I have tons and tons of notes. But I'm just going to move this over. And I won't go through all of these containers, but I really want to show you, because this is something I'm really, really proud of. And it so works for me. So I'm just going to grab a half dozen of them, but I'll tell you what's in all of them as we go along. But I'm just going to grab them. Let's see, I'll grab these ones too. So these are those plastic meat trays. And now these ones are the long ones that hold 5 chicken breasts or 8 pork chops. I don't know. They're the really long ones. And, I've been, we buy that stuff all the time, right? You got to eat. And so I was piling them up thinking I was going to use them for something. And then I realized that they are longer than a 12 by 12 inch piece of paper. Just by a little bit. Let's see, this is 5 to 18. So 5 to 18. So they're 13 inches approximately, maybe 14. But they exactly hold that length. And that's the only reason I'd keep these long ones. Otherwise, I would use the shorter ones that I showed you. But they do have that length, which is very, very handy. Now, I hesitated at first to label them because I wasn't sure if I was going to keep them. And so like this one just says butterflies and wings. But as we go through these, you'll see they have fancier labels now. I actually put them on with brads. And so I use this now, just to give you an example. So this is butterflies and wings. Okay, and it has this butterfly wrapping paper that I got from Jen. I love this wrapping paper. I'm hoarding it. So I cut out, aren't they beautiful? They're so beautiful, and it's wrapping paper, and it's a heavier wrapping paper. So these cut out very nicely, and they're just very pretty. And so I have in here all kinds of butterflies and wings. So I have stickers. I have large butterflies. I have butterflies that haven't been fussy cut yet, because if I can't find a butterfly that I absolutely need for a project in this container, there's something wrong with me. But if I can't find one and I have to go print another sheet, I will put the pages or the items in here that aren't fussy cut, because I've learned you don't have to fussy cut every single thing. Just put it in a container that is manageable like this and fussy cut it as you need it. Now, you guys know I love butterflies. It's my most favorite thing. And so that and boho. So I have a lot of different butterflies. I have, there's some different pictures in here and yeah, all different kinds. So you can see how much is in here. It just holds a lot. The fun part is you can take the next tray and pile it on top. They don't go anywhere until you have too many in the pile. That is why I have 4 piles of them, because 2 sets of trays fit on top of one of those plastic tubs underneath. So there's 4 stacks of these. So I don't know how many there are, 30 maybe in total. I don't know. But this one holds flowers. Not all the flowers, but it holds some. And I've gone through the method of putting them in CD envelopes. I made folios. This is a little folio thing that had flowers in it. It was a flower image on the outside that told me it was flowers inside. But I'm sick of that stuff, and I'm always constantly digging and scratching through all that stuff. So they all went in here, and eventually these folios will be gone. I won't be using them anymore. It's an old method, but now this seems to work. So when I want something, it's here, and I just have to fussy cut it as I need it, or sometimes it's already ready there for me. Sometimes I've cut out something and I didn't like it after I cut it out, so then it goes back here and it's ready for the next project. This one here is, now I labeled them on 2 sides. I'm going to just turn this around here. So they are labeled, they are permanent label, not permanent, but it just says flowers, and it's got the 2 brads in it on the side, and then it has the same thing on the front. And that's just so I can have a quick visual along the front here. And then if you look over here on the side, it's also on the side. So that was just done with some little metal brads, and then I did cut the prongs a little shorter so that on the inside they wouldn't catch on anything. I hope this is not too intense here. So that's how I'm, now the ones that aren't done yet, like the butterflies is done on the side. I just didn't do it on the front, I guess. So the ones that aren't done yet, it was because I still wasn't sure that this method worked. But I've had it now for at least 6 months, and I really, really love this method. So because it holds a larger scrap of paper, this is all scrap of paper pieces, and a few other papers too, but scrapbook-like paper, that are no more than about 6 inches wide, because I can put the 6x6 papers in here, and I think there are some in here, but I'm not going to dig too deep. So it does hold up to 6-inch wide paper, so I can have like 2 paper pads of small paper in here if I wanted. But this is just my scraps. So now my scrapbook paper scraps are contained. And the fun part about this is when the container gets to this point where it's overflowing, I will grab, because then they don't sit right on, in each other's trays. So then I will grab this container and I will work with this and this pile, because I keep coming back to this pile because this has got all kinds of stuff. I'm just going to call it stuff. So I do use this as a control method to not go past the top of the container. And this is getting full only because I cleaned up. So that is my method there. Now this one has got tissue paper in it, and you see there's not that much in here. It's because I was doing a lot of stuff with tissue paper recently. Oh, I was making those spools. That's what it was. So I was using tissue paper. It's a little bit of everything, but lightweight tissue. This one has doilies. Yeah, I have a tray for doilies. But now when I want a doily, all I have to do is look down the pile and I can find my doilies. I'm not sifting through piles of paper to find them. So there's little ones, there's little die cut ones, there's bigger ones here that, and these are not doilies. These are cupcake wrappers, but they're like doilies, right? So I do use them when I want little snippet pieces and things for making clusters. I've got heart-shaped ones. I've got coffee-stained ones. Some that are folded over. Some that are a big stack that I'll never use in a million years. But they're all. This is not all my doilies. Who am I kidding? But this is what's on my desk that's handy for whenever I'm working with something. I hope you're finding or seeing the humor in all of this. I'm putting it out there. This is how I work. This is how I roll, as I always tell you. And so, yes, they are labeled on the two sides. And so I just have to change this one when I get back to that mode. And it's just a strip of paper, which we have no problem with strips. Because now I'm just going to give you a quick, so you know what's in here. So here is, these are colored strips. Now these are only cardstock strips because they're a heavier weight. So I know that that's what's in here. And then these are my plain strips. How many times do we use plain strips for doing ink stamping and all kinds of things on here? And then there's plain cardboard strips. I use these for when I'm doing my journals, sometimes for the spine. This one is labels. Okay, I'm going to bring this one over here for you to look at. So, labels. We have labels. There are all kinds of labels in here. Some are pre-cut, some are not, because like I said, I got smart and said, why are you cutting all these things out? You don't need to. So there's all kinds of different labels in here, and when I need a label, I can get it. If I want a plain label, I want to mark something, I can use a plain label, or I can ink stamp on this and use it in a collage. There are labels. More labels than I have things to label. So yeah, and you see how these fit in here. Eventually they will topple over, because I don't know if you remember a couple of videos where I did, where I said if I add one more thing on top of the pile, it's all going to go flying. And I think once it did go flying. And that's because eventually these will start to teeter, because that one or two boxes is too full. So that's the control method I have, is that I have to empty these. Or I have to start another pile, and we can't, because then I can't reach them as it is. So this one is called, okay, these are tickets, they're game pieces, and milk pods. So, and they're wine labels, a little bit different. So there's game pieces here. So sometimes I come to this for some little thing. So those are there. I just opened that bag. So that's what's in there. There you saw the plain strips, you saw the colored strips, but these are only cardstock. These are the edges of bags. I didn't even label this tray because this will get used up really quickly when I do collage. This becomes the backgrounds that I use for collage. Here are my birds. When I used to fussy cut them, I don't anymore. This is stickers that I really got to get used up, because a lot of them are dimensional stickers. I don't use that stuff anymore. Now I have, this one is images. So you saw that book over that I showed you that had images in. I'm getting away from that, and the images are all going to go in here. And that's, again, just another method to keep them in control. But this really works for me. This really, really works. This is napkins. And this I managed to keep under control quite nicely now, because I don't add anything more to here unless I absolutely do not have a color to match. So I'm using this more and more to use it up. This one has what I call paper other. So sometimes I use paper towels in my art, so I will color them different colors. This is just, I think they call it mamagami, where you, scrunch up paper until it's very, very soft and pliable. So this is just kind of oddball papers in here that I use for different projects. And, sometimes I just want a little torn piece, or I will come out here and take something out and make clusters with the whole thing. This one is called projects. And again, I'm getting away from this because projects now all go into this tray so that they actually get done. So this is just stuff to make things with, whether it's got some used tags or half-made things. So this is slowly getting worked down as well. This is just two pieces of, for lack of a better place, they got stuck in here. I don't know what I'm going to do with those things. Book pages of current books that fit in a tray are in here. This one is cardstock pieces. So it's the same as the scrapbooking pieces, but it's cardstock weight. So that is stuff that I use definitely to build anything with cardstock, heavier paper. Plain paper and coffee stain paper. This is so that I can quickly grab a piece or a bunch of plain papers. It's like those brown paper bags further down there. Eventually that will get used up and I will just have the one, but that was something I had taken apart recently, all those bags. And so those were the leftover bits down here. And so it's not even labeled. Here it is, yeah. Because when that's empty, it's not going to get replaced with more. And then these are cluster books. And so these are cluster strips that I've made, and these are the first cluster books. This was, and this design idea was from Shabby Dabby Doodah. If you watch her channel where she made clusters right in a book. But I find this doesn't work for me, which is why I went to my cluster binder. But until that's done, I'm just using this to keep them in. I'm just trying to find one that has stuff in it that I can show you. So until these papers are used up. Oh, maybe they're not. Maybe they're all empty now. I thought I had one that had stuff in it. Oh yeah, here we go. Yeah, so this is one that I've done some in. And, I should use those. And so the idea is that you tear it out. As you can see here, you tear it out, and then when it's done, it's done. So I don't like this method because it leaves lots of loose ends. And so I will eventually use all those up in my projects, and they'll be gone. And then there's things like mulberry paper down there. And this one is called dump, because we have to have a dump container, right? It's one that I haven't gone through, but it's sort of like this container here. This is the dump small stuff. That is the dump papers. And you would not believe how many times I go through there and I find 2 or 3 things that I want to use right away. So that just gives you an idea of the trays. And I did say I was going to go through these little ones quickly. See, now look at my desk. Now I got to put all this stuff away. We're almost at an hour. So this is just, quick pieces when I want something. This is paper that is folded for siggnatures. And it is just papers that were on my desk. And then when I go to make a journal, I come here first this is what I call my regular size journals. This is, the 8.5 by 11 folded in half makes 5.5 by 8.5. So this is where I come first for papers, but that's a different explanation of how that works. There's some wallpaper in here that I recently got from someone, and signatures where maybe I made a signature and I decided there was too many papers. Well, they land in here because this is one of those things that is constantly being used. So that's 8.5 by 11 standard papers, and then this is more stuff that's related to it. So I have a journal, sort of a base covered here that I can make a small journal with, but it's all related to the 8.5 by 11. And then this is for doing traveler's notebooks. So whenever I have papers on my desk and I want to get rid of them, I fold them up into traveler's notebook size, and they're ready to use. And then this was a journal that I thought I would use the cover for this, so that they'll have to be cut down a little bit, but that's what it's for. And then this is for making smaller types of journals. Sorry, I just got to move you over here for a second while I'm going to have a avalanche here. So when I want to make like a little notebook or something, this is folded papers ready to go for a little notebook type thing. It's decorated on the inside, smaller wallpaper, smaller pieces, but they're all ready for whenever I want to make a notebook and put a notebook into something, it's done. Sometimes when I'm working on a journal and I want something quick, I don't want to have to go and gather all the papers, whereas this is just a handy way to keep all these little papers, and then it's ready to go. This one has a couple of envelopes in here that I could make a journal into if I was really desperate to make one. It's kind of I don't know, I really don't need it, but I just put them in here. It'll probably just get more papers added into it if I'm not careful. And then this is just some bits and pieces. And on the bottom here is a tray of plastic sandwich bags that I used. Maybe I used for something and then it was empty, and then it goes back here so that when I need a plastic bag, I have them. And when this container is empty, then I start to feel sick, because that means all these baggies, which there's lots here, all these baggies are full of stuff. So that's a reminder too that I've got too much on the go. And so that's these containers. And then on this side, it's just, again, small little bits that these do get used. These are butterflies that have to get put back, but I was working on a project, so I pulled a bunch from the tray, and now they just have to get put back. Again, little bits that I come to here first, and then there's a small bag container, because sometimes I need just a little bag to put stuff into. That's where I come for those bags. It's organized and it's a mess. It's a little bit of both. And this is my fussy cut labels that I pull from all the time. So this one is used automatically. I don't even go into the bigger label one, because I've just got so many little bits and pieces in here. And then this is another one, but it's a different label container. So these are just, I come here all the time for stuff. So it's no point in digging through the bigger pile when this is quite handy for me. So I know it's a lot of information. I know it's probably like, oh my God, she needs help. I don't need help. I'm perfectly fine. But it works for me, and I love it. So if you pick up a few meat trays or food trays in your travels, give it a try, because you might find that you like this and that it works for you, and it's not hard to go through them. Like I said, in a day, sometimes we're working here for hours on end. We need a little bit of exercise. I do have to get up once in a while and go through and find all the things that I want. It's always the one at the bottom of the pile, of course, but that's how it works. So here you are. I've already been an hour into this, so you know why I cannot do a tour of my whole studio. I'll just give you a little quick peek over there. That's a whole aisle behind this jewelry here. And that's where those boxes are. But, you know, one of these days I will go through the other sections so you have a better idea of what's going on. But this is my desk. This is how I work. So when you are seeing me and I'm sitting here, actually my camera mount is right here, right there. And so when you're seeing me, I'm sitting here and this is what you see. It's never that clean, but now you know what I'm referring to when I say it's over there. So it is. It's all over here. And you've seen it, and you know exactly what I'm doing here. And this is just part. But this is the organized mess. The rest is a much more in control, but there's just a lot. I have a lot. So that's it. That's all. I would like to say a big thank you to Cara Brandon and to Dana White for letting me be a part of this collaboration. I did use the Dana White methods a little bit just for some basic organization and to clean up some messes. So do check her out. She does have a great method for 1 hour cleanup that works. It works very well. But again, it's not that I want this super pristine, clean environment, but it did help me to organize some bits and pieces that I got put away. Also check out the other channels. I know that you will enjoy seeing all of the different methods and madness to how they use their workspace. I'm probably the the case that they brought in to show you what not to do. Just remember that. Anyway, that's it. That's all. I wish you all a very creative day and a creative week, and I look forward to seeing you all soon. And I would love the comments below. So please do share your comments and what you think of my madness. That's it. That's all. Bye for now.